Hi, how's it going? Sometime in March, I released my first Splice pack, Lunova, and it's been out for a little while. Let's go through some of the session files and pull the curtain back. Drum mixes, plug-in chains, all that good stuff. First of all, the main sound is kind of based around a Prophet, and that is simply the Prophet 5 by Arteria, and it's the DeMarco setting, which I believe is honestly the very first preset that it opens up with. It just sounds really good. And there's very little on here, all right? There's my absolute favorite, the Arteria tape mellow, and it's just really darkening it a little bit. Nothing too wild. And then we have the lead. Kind of interesting here how I have the kind of answer to the question repeated in the first synth. Some cool chords there, I think. What do we got here? C5 major 7th. Sounds cool to me. Got some bass. Here is nothing. All the processing is doing very, very little because I like the sound of the bass. Whoa, I already got this. Thank you, Sound Toys. I appreciate it. So we have the decapitator, we got this EQ, just taking out some low end, the radiator, and the compression. Wow, the compression is doing a lot. I'm not looking for bass to be too bright or jangly or too much texture, really. Just really smooth and tucked away, something you feel more than you hear. Now, what I really think ties this whole sound together is these. All together. That reverse thing kind of just hypes you up for the next bar, just kind of making something that's pretty simple, 2 bars sound exciting, I think. Honestly, I was just sitting in my studio at the time. So I went into the session where I knew I was just playing as many chords as possible because I got a good tone, and I just chopped anything that I thought sounded good, dropped it in the session, hoping I was going to find something that worked just by using my ears. And lo and behold, I found something that worked. But here are some of the other pieces I brought, hoping that might fit with the song. So what this is my acoustic. I think it was mic'd. I don't think I used a pickup. I think I put a mic on the acoustic. It was the Lafayette. And then I stereo mic'd the Leslie. Put them together. Such a cool sound. So yeah, I have a bunch of random chords here. That's a weird sound. What I like is to just make a bunch of random different sounds and basically create a tiny ecosystem. I can hopefully one day chop it, and then they all kind of fill in each other like puzzle pieces. So when I'm working on a piece of music and I need something, I'll just type in C5 major 7 or whatever it is and see whatever things come up that are close to it and then drag them in. And there'll be a bunch of random different textures. Now in this case, I didn't do that. I literally just grabbed my favorite sounds and then put them in here and hoped that they would work. And I was so shocked when I found that these fit perfectly. They have so much texture, they have so much life, they're shimmery. You can hear the motor in the background humming along. It gives it a feel of being alive. It's electro music. So when it comes to these guitars, all I was trying to do was just give them a little bit more body if you listen to it with no effects. With the plugins. All I'm trying to do is give it most likely less treble and more body, more mid-range, more saturation, because I have an issue with so much music today sounding kind of hollow in the mid-range. I want things to cut through. To do that, I just love adding this Mellify plugin. This plugin is just incredible as far as the drive. It's very musical. Let's push it a little heavy and see what it really sounds like. You hear that? It's musical. Unlike some drives. Now, I love this plugin. I'm just showing you that sometimes drive can be really, really extreme. And then in the EQ, just taking out some low ends, good old Oxford inflator, just turning the effect to about 43, a little bit more in the inputs. Let's do a little before and after. Subtle. This one's just different, okay? I was trying to have some fun with it. At some point, you're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to get the noodles to stick to the cabinet. This was just me saying, okay, I need a refresher. I'm making so much in this specific sound, so much guitar based, that I just wanted to completely flip and do a 180 and try something entirely different. I want it to be sad, but romantic and sound like it's coming off a VHS tape. And this has kind of a lot of layers. Most of the samples that I was doing were pretty simple. I like the 4-track mentality. You can move mountains with 4 tracks. A great communicator can get their point across with the least amount of words. First track. What is that? Let's take all the effects off and really study this, because I might be able to figure out what it is by listening to how much noise it may or may not have. What the f? How long does this thing go for? Okay, let's try this side. There we go. Let's study the noise that it may or may not have. Ready? What? There's no noise. Okay, so the fact that there's no noise, this is probably my Nord. Having a Nord is nice. It's a nice keyboard. I enjoy it. But it is a little bit like having $1,000 jar of mayonnaise. You know, your friend might come over and see your Nord and think, wow, I didn't know that you're into $1,000 jars of mayonnaise. So when you have such expensive mayonnaise, you have to figure out ways to give it flavor, give it soul, give it feeling. And that's where these plugins come in. Oh my gosh, surprise, surprise. This is it, man. This is my sound. I just overuse this to hell. And subtly. I recorded it 2 times in order to get as much imperfections and flexibility between the 2 sounds. I wanted them to kind of like dance in between each other. One changes a little early, one changes a little late, one note gets held a bit longer, one note is maybe not even there, and that creates a human feeling. What's going to be most fun about this is seeing what I didn't use. This is a muted something or another. No, we'll keep that muted. Now what do we got? That's definitely a little Casio, I believe. It's got some nice noise to it. Let's take off what we got. Literally just a basic ass EQ. I'm actually raising bass, which is unique, and then cutting lows, cutting mids. Wow, nothing exciting, nothing to write home about. The decapitator. Tiny, tiny, tiny movements. The strings, that's where that fancy mayonnaise comes in. I just took some bass out, you know. The thing that I forgot to mention is that I was using extensive pedal chains the whole time. I had this table over here. I had everything out, and I would just create chains as I would go. It was just basically going with my intuition to just continue to create that buildup of saturation and grit and mid-range. Because I like spicy mayonnaise. With all string sections, you got to layer a bunch of them, otherwise it's not a section. I was wondering what the reverb is. Super plates, I'm a big fan. I like this plugin. It's very clean, okay? So it's pretty. It sounds good on pretty things. It sounds good on strings. It sounds good on people's voices. Okay, what are these guys down here? These are our goofy little leads. What I've been liking doing lately is having two different instruments talk to each other. I think it gets really boring in a composition where you're hearing the same instruments the whole time. The guitar and the bass are just going and going and going. I'm really getting to the point where I want things to like weave in and out. And I haven't really gotten this far yet, but I mean, I wouldn't even mind if like the very first, downbeat of a track has a guitar that never comes back. It's just one strum and done. Or maybe even every single note of the melody is a different instrument. That could be cool. So back to it. This is, I don't know. Let's see if we can reverse engineer it. Sounds kind of nasty. Let's see if we can recognize it by the noise. There's not a lot of noise there, so I don't think it's the DX27 because the DX27 is pretty noisy. I think this is another Casio. Especially that weird kind of distortion. I took the bass out and then I added some extra distortion to make it feel intentional. Because it's kind of still there, but it's just kind of like floating around. Bass, Moog, grandmother. And I'm always fighting those clicks. That's something that I feel when you listen to in isolation doesn't sound so good, but in the context of the track, it actually works and it cuts through a little bit. Anyways, what was I saying? Just by having that one lead that's like so crusty, it makes the sample feel crusty, but it's really not. If I mute these leads and play it. It's actually pretty big, expansive, pretty. But then when I add in that crusty lead, suddenly feels like something very ancient. I pretty much used my DX27 for this. DX27 through a bunch of pedals, and I started with this chord progression. Then I found this lead on the DX27 that I liked. Again, I'm using the super plate here, and guess what? Oh my goodness, I'm putting the super plate directly on the track, which is a no-no, but you know what? And it's 100% wet. Interesting. So here it is completely open. You can hear that there's a lot of effects on it. And so I ended up using the super plate to just kind of push it back. And these effects, I just thought these were kind of cheesy, but like cheesy in a fun way. I think it's just like a race car preset on the DX27. I don't know. It felt right. And then I put this one down here. Just, what do you call that? Underlick? I think I've heard that term before. Grandmother again. Actually, no. I think that's a DX27 again, because it has that classic kind of 80s 12-bit noise. So a lot of these times I was really just using crazy pedal chains. Let's see if I can find something with more plugins. This one was one of my personal favorites, just because again, I just wanted something different. So what I did here was I'm using the Nord again. I'm using the pianette setting because I think the pianette is just a fantastic sounding electric piano. And we're EQing pretty aggressively over here, taking a lot of bass out and just boosting a lot of mid-range treble. But then I ran it through the trainer. I am so sick and tired of clean. And and the trainer gives me all that nasty grit. Listen to that. I put a sample delay on here to widen it. I had to use a little X noise to kind of tame it, because otherwise I think it would have been too much. Let's hear it without. It just tamed it, didn't get rid of it. I'm never trying to get rid of it, just tame it. So those two layers together, I need that crunch. And then again, the DX27 for my organ lead. Also, I was using Eventide. Instant Flanger. I really love these plugins from Eventide. The Instant Flanger, the Instant Phaser. The bass was really important to me. I wanted a unique bass tone in this song. Altogether, the bass sounds like this. I recorded the bass. I was having some serious noise issues that day, so I had to use the classic X noise to get rid of it. I don't know what was going on that day. I EQ'd all the treble out of it. A little bit of boost in like 50, 60, and some compression, of course. And then I took that same signal and I ran it through the trainer. The trainer is this 1970s Canadian-built PA head I have. I have a video on it. It's called Nova, I think, or that's the thumbnail. I just use it to inject a lot of color and energy and spice into recordings. I took that really clean bass and I turned all the knobs up and I got this. It creates a really unique saturation that I can't get anywhere else. I had to flip the phase because, you know, freaky phase stuff was going down. And then I use X noise. I use X noise a lot. Didn't get rid of all of it, but you can't hear it in the context of the whole mix. And then the ADT, man, that thing is sick. The engineers at Abbey Road who made this back in the day, thank you. You made an amazing piece of hardware that is now in software. And then one more EQ. What's this EQ? Oh, wow. That was so necessary, apparently, to boost, you know, 4K. Righteous. So yeah, all together. Then we mix it with the original bass. If you're going to be distorting your bass, I think it's important to double your bass. So one of them can maintain that low end, that really, really, you know, deep sub rumble that we want. And then your distortion can be sitting on top like a layer cake. It can be the cut. It can be the abrasiveness that just kind of shouts through the track, where that bass is the one that you feel. And then all together. Oh, what are these? Echo rec on the organ. I really like this echo because it's nasty sounding. There's a lot of echoes that just sound like if I really wanted to just duplicate the track, delay it, then sure. But I really like this because it's emulating, oh, it glows. Wow. Nice. What I really like about this plugin is it's emulating this disc that's spinning. And look at all these heads on there. This is a real device that exists in the world. I've seen one before. I like to put the condition on used and just try to make it sound as screwed up as possible. But it does have a noise to it. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it until I looked at these three dots and saw this. Usually plugin developers will put it on the front of the plugin, but not them. It's okay. So you got to hunt it down a little bit. But once I figured it out, I was like, okay. And then the next one was, Primavera. Another Pulsar plugin that I really love. The Spring Reverb Pulsar plugin is my favorite reverb plugin, but I'm updating my Spring Reverb game. A new one is coming in the mail, a hardware, a stereo one. I'll be doing a video about that, and that's going to be really, really fun. That's going to change everything for me. I like this guitar tone. This is one of my favorite guitar tones that I got. So let's break it down. I'm going to pan these straight because, you know, just so I can hear what's going on. So this guitar track is labeled tube. That tells me I used the Soyuz 017. That microphone is so nice. Now, I don't own it. Soyuz is nice enough to loan me gear when I recorded this project. My relationship with Soyuz is unique because they are down the street. So I met them in NAMM, really great guys, and then found out that their office is like basically down the street. It's actually so close that I walked there to borrow a bunch of microphones to use for this project. And the one mic that I really wanted was their most prestigious high-end 017. I just had to try it. It is a $4,500 microphone and it sounds amazing. Plugin wise, what do we got here? Just a basic EQ. Here's without. We put the EQ on. We got some body, some push. The tone is really nice though. So what is that? I think I was using my Teisco guitar and I was definitely, it sounds like a phaser, right? That's the, shout out to homie Jack. He loaned me the Mutron biphase and I use that all over the project. The Mutron biphase, a legit one, not the Behringer one. It's so incredible. So I used that. Then I randomly started getting into this idea of miking the back of the cab. I don't know, I just kind of became obsessed with it. So I have this old cab from the 50s, $5 speaker. And with the Soyuz microphone in front of it and the Akai M7 behind the cab, I was able to get this kind of full frequency spectrum sound. And I was also using my Newcomb Pathfinder. That is a 1950s tube amp. I think it's a conversion. It's actually a PA head from the 50s and people modify them as guitar amps. I use it all the time. It's kind of one of my favorite amps. I only have 2 amps. They're both of the same ilk, 50s tube amps, and not expensive ones, kind of forgotten ones that are often converted. So here's the back of the cab. Same kind of EQ curve, just kind of taking the mud out and taking the highs out. Now, what I did that's kind of unusual here is I decided to pan them left and right. Usually, I think when people do the front and back, they are making them in the middle and just trying to beef up the sound. What I was trying to do was make a weird image. The back of the cab, which is dark, is off to the side and the bright one is to the left. So we get this image. Now you add the phaser to it, there's an element of swirling around. And to me, when I was mixing it and I panned them, I just said, okay, it really felt like it put me in the song. So that is why I like that technique. And I continue to get even more experimental with that later on during the pack. Lead guitars. Now I didn't label these. I would assume that it's the exact same setup. So this is probably brighter. And this is probably darker. What? Okay, I guess I was experimenting. This sounds like, oh, I remember. That's the D11H. That's that really funky hammerhead shark looking microphone I have. Really intense mid-range. The other one, I don't remember what that is. What I really love to do is take a very traditional, clean sounding microphone and pair it up with a very character microphone. And when you add them together, you kind of get the best of both worlds and you get way more tone to shape later. So instead of, as I usually try to use the Mellify to sculpt the mid-range and boost it out, if I have the ability to just throw the D11H on there, then I'm going to get the mid-range. And the mid-range is going to be more realistic and more period correct. It's going to be, you know, real old school mid-range that you can't get through a plugin. You can only get by using a honky, disgusting vintage microphone. This is a much busier bass line. That's the bass line. It's just another chain, you know? It's a chain. Everything I was doing was chains, man. Ooh, here we got the Mag EQ, okay? If you know, you know. This is for that trebly super high-end brightness. Let's turn everything off. Pretty dull. I think I just wanted this to really shine. So I did some shaping. Oxford. Not much there. SPL, I wanted to just kind of give it more transient. And then the mag is the sheen. Nothing beats that air band. It's just really, really phenomenal. This is just a little hammer on, hammer off action. And then this lead, which I believe is the DX27. Just ripping the bass out of there. Just nothing. Just take it all off. Brightening things up. So if I take all that off, sounds like it's underwater. Bring it into the earth. Good. The fact that these basses are bounced down, I'm not sure what it is. Okay, what do we got going here? Hits fill. Wow, that's kind of unusual. So I'm using the chamber, you hear that? I think by turning everything off, we can get closer to figuring out what it is. I think that's grandmother for sure. So tape mellow. Just a little bit of drive, a little bit of filter, pull off. Always make sure you turn off the mechanics. God, what is this? Who wants that? Take that off always. And then the dimension D. Just widen it. I like a wide bass. I'm making these samples, I get bored, I'm trying to break rules, okay? Reverb and chorus on bass, always. Sounds nice when it goes low right there. That sounds really groovy. Low, low, low. And then all together. Got some drums. What do we sound like? What? What's happening? I think that's a fantastic segue to open up some drums. Some of these loops I actually marked, although the names changed. This was originally going to be called GeoCities. What did it become? I don't know. Now, as you can see, the heavy lifting is coming from the stereo bus, which looks pretty scary. Let's turn everything off. It's kind of wild. So obviously some volume there. Tape mellow, giving us a little bit of edge. Then the Oxford inflator, the God particle, tape oxide, radiator, Ampex, more gain, and finally some limiting. Now what's happening on the individual tracks though? Let's check that out as well. Here we have the kick. If we turn everything off the kick, and we're going to a bus that's actually muted, so forget about it. It's open, it's flabby. I don't know how I didn't notice that at the time. I don't like those kicks, typically. So I had to synthetically make it tight. So as always, decapitator to break through. Mellow 5 for more saturation. Now it sounds old. And finally, the star of the show, the digital pillow. By cranking down the sustain, I'm able to simulate putting a pillow inside the kick drum. Now, I don't remember if this EQ was on when I opened the session or not. There's that. Then we have kick out here, which I ended up muting and just not needing. I over-mic'd things so when I left the studio, I could come home and make a decision based on what I'm hearing instead of what I'm feeling. Okay, now the snare. I'm trying a lot of different things, but, taking a lot of stuff off. So took a little bass out, using the SPL to just kind of fake the mute, some pretty wild EQ. Just a little shimmer. I think there's some noise, something. Can't really hear it there, but I believe that it was like a bad wire or something simple. There's the snare. I definitely didn't have this tom mic. I didn't have these mics on when I was doing it because I wanted this tight 70s sound. So then we have overhead. The overhead was summed. Very simple. Oh my God, that's a lot. I just took a lot of mid-range out. I just wanted to sound 70s here. Not necessarily 60s like I usually do. I wanted high-end, tight 70s. And that's why I didn't use the crotch mic or the room or even the echo and plate. I mean, that sounds kind of cool. With the crotch in there. The thing about this is you can mix it 1,000 different ways, which makes it kind of frustrating because I'm sitting here now listening to this. And I kind of like that. But would you like that? See, I don't know. So making a pack for Splice was kind of a mind for me because I wasn't sure what people really wanted. What would be used? I ended up going with Dead. Instead of this. Hopefully I made the right choice. It really was a lot of fun making this pack. I hope you enjoyed getting a peek behind the process. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. And also, I'm working on another new Splice pack. So if you have any feedback, please let me know. I'm all ears. I want to know your experience with it, what inspired you about it, what you didn't like about it, what you really liked about it. All that information is really helpful for me as I try to make an even better product for you. So I'm really looking forward to going back to the Sound Factory and just creating something that is a whole step above all of this. The drum loops, shout out Nico Johnson, and the one-shots are really what's carrying this pack, I noticed. That is the thing that most people are gravitating towards, and I'm very proud of that. But what I've been wanting to do lately is focus more heavier on music loops, on melodic loops, on guitar, synths, keys, and that's really where I want to put my focus on. So therein lies the question, what would you like to have more of? Me personally, I love minor keys. I like dark sounding music. I like experimental. I like noise. I like feedback. I think the best thing for me to do is just to continue to experiment. I got this Juno over here on loan, shout out Trolls from SoundPaint, and I've just been really losing myself in it. And I think that might be a sound that I lean on heavier in the future. Probably gonna have to get my own soon. Thank you.